kitchen area, providing a little exterior paved patio area outside for employees. And this would be the mezzanine level. The only addition here would be the 16-foot wide mezzanine for light storage and a little corner for an IT closet for their communications and to eventually hook up with the Township-based community electronic web-based system. We're currently asking for a waiver for the parking based on the fact that ordinance requires by square footage 80 parking spaces, which would include 4 of them being physically handicapped, but this building would never have that many employees in it. Currently, there's 8. I think the maximum employees ever would be projected at 17. That would mean 17 spaces, and they provided a visitors area in the front, which would be in case they'd have a pre-bid meeting or some type of get-together for 7 people to show up to go over a project. And then we also considered, since we're under the parking requirements, to provide a banked area in the concrete area for truck turnaround. So if there was anything they needed extra parking for and there wasn't any type of work going on in the rear, they could open up the back for parking if needed. And I'm trying to think of, as far as landscaping goes, it's fully landscaped along Joslin Road currently. The only effect would be removing a few trees for this extra parking, and we would basically replace the existing trees with trees to match, so the area would still be a landscape buffer. And when the entrance area, where we'd have visitors coming in for, let's say, pre-bid meetings, we provide some type of landscaped area and to spruce up the front of it a little bit. As I said, this would be, this would be the landscaped area I talked about, and providing some canopies for entrance, some lighted signage to give it some type of branding and give it a little more visual appeal from the road. And any questions?
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have a few from up here, but I'll go ahead and turn over to our consultants, get their input, and we'll kind of throw it all at you. How's that?
Sure.
Excellent. With that, I'll turn over to Mr. Lewan, if you want to give us a summary of your findings on this site plan addition.
Thank you. So, a few things. I'm just going to go to page 4 of my memo and kind of hit the high points here. Generally speaking, the plan is in conformance with the Township zoning ordinance, but there's a few things that the Planning Commission should consider prior to acting on the project. The first is, if you look at just the triangular piece of property that the applicant is proposing, some of the setbacks, as you can see in the edge where he's pointing right there, don't meet the side yard, or don't meet the setbacks. However, there is a provision of the zoning ordinance that talks about the definition of a zoning lot, and zoning lots can be multiple parcels that are not combined under common ownership and use, that for the purposes of zoning, the entire property would be looked at. So if we look at this as a zoning lot, there's no issue with setbacks. And so I just wanted to mention that to the Planning Commission. And I don't think there's a problem with that, but I throw that out for your thoughts and consideration if there was a question about that setback. The applicant's architect did mention about the tree removal. Typically, those are shown on a drawing, and we would like to see that just to ensure that tree removal and anything replaced should be shown on the plan. The third item is the site plan we had. I couldn't tell because there's a lot of line work going on about where the existing drives were and where the proposed drives were. And so if that could just be cleared up a little bit in a revised plan, just showing all the existing and proposed driveways, I think that would, just to clean up the drawing a little bit in that regard. The applicant's architect mentioned the reduction in the number of parking spaces. We would concur with the direction of the parking land banking and waiver. The parking spaces, as are required by the ordinance, are really almost for an office type use, and so if this was a full-blown office, they would need 80 some parking spaces, but this is not a full-blown office, so they will not need 80 parking spaces. So we are in support of the proposed parking reduction and land banking, and the Planning Commission has the authority to do that, and you do not have to send this to the Zoning Board of Appeals. As we always ask for with, particularly with commercial projects, showing turning templates to ensure adequate site circulation will occur on site. And similar to the tree removal and tree replacement, those should all be depicted on a plan. I think there's, as I mentioned in my review, there's quite a bit of vegetation along the road, and that existing vegetation can certainly be used to meet landscape ordinance standards, but we would like to be able to depict that and verify that. A lighting plan is required, particularly if there are new lighting proposed on the site. And then we just ask about the floor plans and elevations. I think the drawing we had indicated that one of the existing building was a brown block and the new building was a different color, and it looked like from the rendering that they're obviously going to match in some manner.
Yes.
But that was the question with that. And my review did not have the color rendering, so that helps that in that regard. So none of these items really changed location of parking, location of circulation, location of building. However, we would like to see some of these items addressed in maybe a final drawing that could be submitted for the file.
Excellent. Thank you for that. We'll talk about those, a couple of those comments in a minute. We'll just layer it on them, Mr. Stevens. I know you prepared a letter. If you want to just give the quick summary of that.
Sure. As the Planning Commission may be aware, since it's a township project, our office prepared the site civil for it, so I offered the following summary letter with regards to the improvements. With regards to the water main and sanitary sewer, there's public water main on Joslin Road, and there's a stub left at Joslin Court. The project is proposed to extend the public main down Joslin Court to the building to provide fire suppression, fire hydrant, and to basically relocate the current domestic service. The current building is served by a private septic system. So the proposed project, there was a newly installed sewer back in 2010 for a vacuum dumping station. So the proposed project is proposed to basically abandon the private septic system and tie into the public sewer that was installed in 2010. And there is adequate capacity, both the water and sewer system, to service the site. With regards to the stormwater management, nothing's changing with regards to the drainage patterns on site. There's an existing detention pond at the corner of Joslin Court and Joslin Road. That pond was oversized by about double when it was installed. So the small addition of the impervious surface, the existing pond has got more than enough capacity to handle the additional impervious surface. With regards to the pavement and site circulation, all the grades on site meet township ordinances. It's a relatively flat site. The proposed pavement cross-section meets township standards. It's essentially 8 inches of concrete over 6 inches aggregate base. And site circulation is essentially similar to the site with the addition of the new driveway near the existing gravel road, or existing gravel trail, I should say. So with that, I think some of the other items with landscaping and grading have been addressed, but we'd be happy to answer any questions with regards to the engineering of the site.
Wonderful. Thank you for that summary. Also, we received communications letters. I'm sure you're furnished them from our different department heads. Doesn't look like there's anything real cumbersome. They all say, adequate, public services. It looks like you'll work with the fire department on final places and number of the fire hydrants. So coming back to our consultants' questions, comments, or I guess I'll bring it up here first. Any initial burning questions, comments? Commissioner Simon?
I have a couple. Number one, because I can't see it on here, but I know there's that pond, in essence, wetlands right to the, like in this picture down at the bottom. But, because it's not shown, I don't know, are we encroaching on that at all, or?
No, that pond, if I can try to pop it up on the aerial photo. That pond is approximately
So it's south of
about
this little
100 feet
pathway.
south of that drive. Correct.
Okay.
I'll give you a quick dimension. It's about 35 feet south of that called gravel drive. That's south of the property lines on the drawing.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is the current site plan for this area has outdoor storage for dirt and stuff, and for a lot of the public works stuff, and it just looks like it went away. Is that what we want, or is we're going to find a new home for that? As you remember, we did that was the last site plan we did, was adding all that.
Correct. I believe that the township, the existing outdoor storage is staying, and I believe the township is submitting an additional application with regards to some additional storage to just kind of clean up the whole township hall site with
Uh-huh.
regards to structures. So that's going to be provided in a separate application.
Okay, so then you approve this and it goes away for now, it
But
looks like, right? Because it really is in the,
Essentially, yeah, and then it gets cleaned back up with the new application.
all right, like I said, I just, things like, there's a reason why it was in there
Oh, yeah.
before, and all of a sudden
Yep.
it's just gone.
Yep.
All right, so that's my couple things there, so.
Some of the bigger things, the zone lot issue and the setback, if we look at the southeast side of it, I have no issues with it applying the zone lot on this one, in particular, given it's all commonly owned with the township and kind of a master site, as Mr. Steven just mentioned. They're also going through some other things to kind of clean up the overall structure. So taking that context, looking at the site, I don't have an issue looking at that approach. Any other thoughts on that one?
Fine.
And then what about the parking? I think based on their calculations, their needs, they have pretty historical, obviously, data with regards to what they need. I don't see an issue with the parking, plus the bank. Any consideration, concerns on that? Okay.
Somehow I think their neighbor would
Yeah.
allow them to use that parking.
They might.
Just a
They
thought,
might,
maybe.
yeah. So given that, we have a couple items to address, but given our consultants, I think, are in a comfortable working order with where it is, I think we can go ahead and look to move forward with it. Any further thoughts, comments, questions for our applicant here? Screws we need to turn to them and make sure we include here, other than in our consultants' reviews? Okay, if done, I'll entertain a motion with those kind of cleanup items. And
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we approve PC 2019-13 for the plans received March the 22nd, 2019, with the following conditions. That the site is considered a zoning lot as defined by the zoning ordinance. Number 2, the number of parking spaces proposed at 24, with 26 land bank spaces is reasonable, based on the current and future employment and use of the building. And 3, that a final landscape plan be submitted. This recommendation for approval is for the following reasons. With the above conditions, the plan complies with all other zoning requirements. Number 2, the proposal includes improvements to the existing building. And 3, as the township continues to grow, it is necessary and important to expand public services and facilities to meet the demands to service the community.
thank you. We have a motion, there's support.
Support.
Motion support. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, any public discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Walker?
Yes.
Reynolds? Oh, sorry. Henry? St. Henry?
Yes.
Steinle?
Yes.
Gross?
Yes.
Garris?
Yes.
Massey?
Yes. Thank you. Don't go far. Let's see. Keep moving. Item 7B under new business. We have PC 2019-14, which is the Orient Township Fire Station Number 3 building. And this is for an addition to their site plan as well. And this site is located at 3365 Gregory Road, parcel 0932101034. I'll let you pull up the next presentation. When you're ready, go ahead and give us an overview of the building addition.
One moment, please.
Good evening. This project is, we're talking about a 2,000 square foot addition to Fire Station Number 3. The addition will be used for administrative purposes, some offices, and a small conference room. And this will be the home of the chief, and his staff will be housed here within the department. The project, this outlines the existing Station 3. We're coming out here to the west and to the south with this addition here. Currently, this is a bank of parking along this side of the building here. We're flipping it over to this curb cut here and encroaching on that curb cut there. This is the addition with some administrative offices, a reception area, and a door and to the public. So this is where the public will go to discuss issues with the fire department. We have a large conference room here. We're reorganizing a little bit of this existing space that's in their training area. And this area here will be for plan review and inspectors' offices.
Excellent.
And that's it.
Perfect. Yeah, it was a very big one, so thank you. With that, we have a small also kind of review given for this edition, but with that, Mr. Lewan, if you want to give us an overview of your findings on the site as well?
Yeah, again, I'll just hit the high points here. The first item is parking. The station will be providing 23 total parking spaces. They indicate there'll be 14 employees, so that allows for 9 additional spaces for visitors. And we would just like to, maybe find out to make sure there's not going to be any large training exercises or anything there, or just to ensure that this number of parking spaces is adequate. That's really the only question with regard to parking. And there's nothing we could find in the zoning ordinance that actually addresses a fire station. So we're going by the 14 employees that they indicate will be utilizing the facility, and our indication that parking is adequate. With regard to landscaping, the biggest issue we have is that there is the single-family zoning next to the site, and when they flip the parking facing the building to facing the outside edge of the site, now the parking has become a little closer to that home, and so in this particular plan, we do note that they are proposing to move the trees that were in the area of the parking spaces into that little green space. And if I read the grading plan correctly, that may even be somewhat of a moot point, because I believe the parking is quite a bit lower than where that house is. So they're building a retaining wall right at the edge of that parking. So I think, yes, they should relocate the trees, but the parking lot lighting is going to be hitting right in the side of a retaining wall. However, we would like to see some detail on what those trees are. Evergreen would be better. In the plan we reviewed, that was not specified. We will need a photometric plan eventually. There is a note on the plan that indicates that they fully intend on meeting the township lighting standards, and that a photometric plan was going to be submitted at the time of final engineering. And that goes along with our fourth comment, in that they have to maintain 3/10 foot candles along the property line, particularly with the property to the west. And the fifth item is that, this is kind of a little bit of an odd one, but this site is within the Gingerville Overlay District. The Gingerville Overlay District has a number of standards, architectural design, community feature, things like that. And that would have to be introduced or added to this plan. And we do mention on page 4 of our report that the Planning Commission has the authority to waive or modify the standards of the Gingerville overlay area. And in our opinion, based on the location of the location and existing nature of the fire station, we believe that waiver is certainly realistic and warranted in this case. But that's something that the Planning Commission will have to act on.
Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Stevens, to give us a review of your findings from your lenses.
Sure. Again, as this is a township project, we prepared the site civil on behalf of the township. With regards to the water main and sanitary sewer, there's existing water main and sanitary sewer along Gregory Road. The services essentially remain unchanged, except we're going to have to do some relocation of the sanitary sewer lead to accommodate the proposed addition. In addition, there's an oil gas separator that we might also have to relocate. That's essentially in the front of the building. We might have to move it 5 or 10 feet or so. But for the most part, the public utilities in and around the site remain unchanged. With regards to stormwater management, very similar to the DPW site, the existing pond was oversized, and so the additional pervious surface is well within the capacity of the pond per current standards. Pavement and site circulation are very similar. The proposed pavement is 8 inches of concrete, 6 inches of ag base, meeting township standards. Sidewalk, 4 inches, over 4 inches of sand, meeting township standards. And with regards to the retaining wall, there's proposed probably about a 2.5-foot retaining wall to accommodate the additional of the parking area to the west. And then that slope, to kind of keep that slope at a gentle slope, about a 1-on-6. So there was kind of some back and forth on whether or not we wanted to make it steep and eliminate the wall, but because it's so close to the residential, I think everyone felt that was more appropriate to put the boulder wall in for the headlights and then allow that slope to be more gentle. So that's what's currently proposed. So with that, all the grades on site essentially are within township standards of 1 to 4%, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Excellent, thank you. And we also, of course, have other communications from our other department heads, and it looks like they are all in agreement with the kind of parking calculations based on the current use. Double checked not only by the building official, you know, the fire marshal's reviewing it as well. So with that, I think we can go over the high points of the different views we came up with. Any initial questions up here from folks? Yes, Mr. Steinle?
So in that area where the new parking's going, I didn't drive by there today, but it exists as almost like a swale, right? I mean, it goes down, it's a little ditch, it goes down about 4 or 5 feet, I would say, right? If the original topos are right, I mean, again, I didn't walk by to confirm that, but. So that's about like I say, maybe a 4-foot deep, what I would call a swale. I mean, I think the intent is to have the water kind of flow towards the south, you know.
Correct.
Coming off the parking lot.
Correct.
Right.
So, so what we're gonna do then is basically add this wall and level it out, come there. Well, have we created a problem? I don't want drainage now, you know, in other words, the way it sheets off the parking lot has to change. I think it was actually sheeting away from the building and then taking advantage of the swale to get down, to go south, but, you know, it almost has to sheet and come south in the parking lot itself. Otherwise, it's gonna wanna go off on the neighbor.
Well, actually, no, so the house, if you see the house,
Right.
I think the little swale you're talking to is really just it's like a landscape feature.
Right.
But the house itself is probably about 7 feet higher than the parking lot. And the drainage from the parking lot, it did sheet away from the building, but there's a structure there. So there's a structure in the curb. And so what that parking lot is doing is that's actually sloping towards the building, towards where the existing curb is today. And so that water slopes towards the site, will be picked up in the structure. That'll essentially be where the edge of the new parking lot or new parking area is, and then that all heads south.
Okay, so that's the little squiggly lines I'm looking at are kind of showing how the sheeting's gonna go.
Correct.
Sheet, whatever sheet that is. Well, like I said, I'm just concerned about,
Right.
we don't wanna have to put this in and find out we're flooding out the
Oh,
neighbor,
yeah.
you know? It just looks like it's okay, all right. And that wall, this boulder wall is actually, there's no elevation shown here, so it's, you know, higher, it's gotta be.
It's higher than the lot, right.
Than the parking surface, is what
Correct.
I'm thinking. It's gotta be at least
Correct.
2.5, 3 feet, right? To keep so
Yeah.
you're not looking at headlights shining in their house since they're
Correct.
so close. They obviously don't have enough setback to the lot line, but, you know, you still should take them into consideration, so it is higher.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, just to give you just an example, the finished grade near the house is about 1033. That slopes down to the top of wall, which is gonna be about 1029, so it'll slope down from the house to the wall, and then that, at about a 1-on-6 slope or so. And then that wall is about 2.5 foot tall that cuts down, and then you got your start of your parking lot after a couple feet of great green space, and then that parking lot slopes 2% towards the existing paving.
Okay, well, like I said, as long as the wall itself is higher than the surface, so that headlights from cars parking there, going in at night. And then that's parking, so it's not as bad, it's not like we're gonna have heavy vehicles, that's gonna be a fill area, obviously, you know.
Right.
That we make
Right.
sure it's compacted enough and stuff, but at least it's not, we haven't moved the drive over there, we're gonna be driving the big trucks over a newly, you know, filled area, you know, where a
Right.
year later, all the
Right.
concrete's cracking and
Right,
we wanna
we're
avoid that.
actually reducing the traffic to the station with this, because that parking is just for the public, so whatever public comes there. The training will be moved to the other station.
Okay.
Answers that one.
So, yeah, please keep track of that, because we have had problems at other ones, right? So I don't want to have a thing a year after this goes in that we have to redo all the concrete work over there.
All right, well, since you just answered also that the special training events will be moved off-site, so additional parking for that wouldn't necessarily be a concern. I'm confident that the photometric plan won't have any bleed over into the other site. Mr. Stein will help clarify on the sheeting and make sure we're being respectful of the neighbors to the west and make sure that boulder wall, deflects any light from the headlights. So with that, as long as we have the few consultants' comments, I'd be in support of moving it forward. Any further comments? Yes, Mr. Lowen.
I think you have to address the Gingellville overlay.
Oh, yeah, the standards. So with that, if you want to bring up your elevation maybe one time, just to see where the Gingellville overlay standards don't have them, I'm trying to pull them up in front of me. Were those in consideration with this new kind of glass facade and so forth? I'm trying to remember what we actually required in there. It's been a minute.
Our intent here was to open up the face of the building to make it more open to the public and just carry on with the existing vocabulary that's in all of your fire stations throughout the township. So that was our intent with that, is not to sprinkle different flavors on each different individual station, but to give a public identity to each station as you've done through, over the course of the last 10 years.
With that on the uniformity side of it, and actually, then now it does have a little bit of a, more of a retail or customer, front with the glass thing. It is a little more inviting to the walkability of what we try to track in Gingellville. So not having the standards right in front of me, the uniformity of the other sites for consistency across the brand, if you will, or the fire stations, and then given it does kind of have a little bit more of the walkability feature with kind of having the glass and having the parking, I'm okay with it. Any further thoughts, comments on the standards? Okay. I'll entertain a motion that there's no further discussions or questions for the applicants.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve PC 2019-14 for the plans received March the 22nd, 2019, with the following conditions and findings. That the parking of 23 spaces proposed is sufficient to accommodate the fire personnel and the visitors to the site. Number two, the proposed building facade is consistent with the facade of the existing building and not in conflict with the Gingellville overlay district. This recommendation for approval is based upon the following reasons. One, this proposal qualifies as an essential service as defined by the zoning ordinance. Two, the plan complies with the zoning ordinance requirements. And three, with the recent expansion of the fire department and personnel, it is necessary to expand the facilities to provide proper building space for personnel and equipment to properly serve the community.
Thank you. We have a motion, there's support.
Support.
Motion support. Any comments up here? Questions? Seeing none. Any public comment on the motion? Seeing none. Ask for a roll call, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Garris.
Yep.
Walker.
Yes.
Steinle.
Yes.
St. Henry.
Yes.
Janaskis.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and finish out the agenda here. Item number 8 is our unfinished business. We have no items before us under unfinished business. Number 9 is our public comments. Any member of the public wish to comment on anything this evening? Seeing no one rushing to the mic. Communications. Hold on. Oh, we do have one member of the public. All right.
I have a comment about the public hearings on number 12. Should I hold my comments until you go over that, or?
This is time for any public comments, and we'll go ahead and just schedule those at that time, so we won't really be discussing them. We're just going to be letting the public know and schedule those tonight, so now it'd be pertinent. Sure.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Donnie Steele. I live at 262 Kirksway Lane. I live off of the corner of Indianwood and M24, and I just have a concern about the rezoning of the corner on the southwest corner of Indianwood and M24. I just am concerned that this area is a little bit congested, and right now we have a backup all the way, sometimes all the way up to the public access over on Lake Orion. And I think that the zoning currently is a lower type of an activity for a commercial business, and this is a much more higher use of a zoning for the Firestone Complete Auto Care Center. And I think that, I don't know if anybody remembers that a couple years ago, when we did the repaving of Axford, it was considered closing off Axford, and now I know that when the MDOT comes through, they are considering closing off Axford, but you still have a lot of congestion, and I've gone to many MDOT meetings when they are talking about the overlay of M24, and they actually talked about connecting Indianwood over M24 and connecting Elizabeth Street and making that a thoroughfare, and that's no longer on the table to do that. And so I've asked MDOT and the Road Commission more than once to maybe consider buying that building as an easement acquisition and for future planning, because if somebody else buys it and builds something there, then it's going to have more active points. And MDOT's concern is always how many moving parts that there are in any intersection. And by allowing the zoning would have much more moving parts than is already there. And if anybody ever spends any time at Bell Tire, and as active as Bell Tire is, and as active as that corner is, if you consider merging the two, and that's what we would have there, I don't necessarily think that's in the best interest of the people traveling up and down Indianwood or making those turns. And so I just would like to say for the record that I am not in favor of the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to comment on anything? All right, seeing no others, with that, item number 10 is our communications. No real formal communications in our packets or before us this evening. Item number 11 then is our committee reports. I don't think we have any sidewalk reports or anything in front of us. Leading us to item number 12, which is our public hearings, our future public hearings, that is. And we have a few of them. Item number 12A under future public hearings is one set for the 17th of this month at 7:05, and that's for PC 2019-11, Firestone Complete Auto Care Center. And this is a request to conditionally rezone 25 Indianwood Road and also 545 North Lapeer Road, parcel number 0902-177-013 and parcel 0902-177-014 from restricted business, our RB, and it's also the other parcel is general business, to both of them to our GB with conditions. So again, that is set for the April 17th at 7:05. Our next public hearing we're going to set is, or that has been set, is also for the 17th of April, set for immediately following PC 2019-11. We'll go into a public hearing for PC 2019-10, and that's for Stadium Ridge Commercial. And they're requesting a special land use for a drive-through facility, and that's an unaddressed parcel, but it's located in the northeast corner of Stadium Drive in Lapeer, and that parcel is 0914-400-025. Also, if you haven't already marked your calendar, item number 12C for public hearings, we're going to have a third one on April 17th, which will immediately follow the last item, PC 2019-10, will be PC, a public hearing for PC 2019-09, that is, and that's for Tommy's Car Wash, and they're requesting a special land use request for a car wash located at 851 and also 8561 and also 871 Baldwin Road. So those three addresses, which land on parcels 0933-351-020, 0933-351-021, and 0933-376-010, has been scheduled. Again, all of those are on April 17th, with the first one starting at 7:05. All the next two to immediately follow those. With that, item number 13, Chairman's comments. I have done this evening. I'll turn over to my commissioners. I'll start on this end. Mr. Reynolds, any comments this evening? for
No
us?
comments other than the last public hearing is on Brown Road, not Baldwin.
Oh, thank you. I'm all those words a jam looked at.
Yep. That's all.
All right, thank you. Mr. Steinle, any comments this evening?
Nope.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gross, anything?
Nothing.
All right, Mr. St. Henry.
Nope, good.
All right. Mr. Walker, anything?
Nothing.
And last but not least, any comments this evening? Nope. All right, with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. We are adjourned at 7:10. Thank you.